Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Beyond Technical. My name as always is Matt, aka Skiar. I wanted to talk today about my journey so far in Street Fighter 6. About 10 years ago, I started Beyond Technical as a YouTube channel to share content for Street Fighter and kind of give you guys some video advice. Back then, there weren't many content creators focused on fighting games, and it was a lot of fun to make educational videos since these games are extremely hard to learn. I loved Street Fighter 4, and it was a blast to play, and I really liked helping teach people online like what they needed to do. Street Fighter 5 came out, and well, let's just call it like it is. The game sucked at launch. From what I understand, it did really come a long way during development, but the netcode sucked, the roster was tiny, the characters felt really weird, and the V-trigger system wasn't my favorite. So I basically quit Street Fighter altogether and pretty much all fighting games, and I haven't touched one in about 10 years now. Now, the amount of you who will see this video is pretty small compared to back then, because, well, it turns out if you don't make videos for 10 years, people don't stick around. But for those of you who did, I just wanted to say thanks for following along. This channel's become more of like a personal update for me than trying to make like the most entertaining videos or like content-specific things that everybody's looking for. So I brought you along for some of my life for those of you who watched it, and I filmed a few different things and tried a few different experiments. But for those of you who just were here for the fighting game content, I've finally gotten a good opportunity to share some more of that with you. So here I am making some videos again. Anyways, back to the story. So when I heard Street Fighter 6 was coming out, I was hopeful it wouldn't suck. And so far I've got to say, I think it's an amazing game, and I'm so glad it turned out great. Had an absolute blast learning how to play and get back into this. And I decided when I first picked it up and I was like, all right, this game's actually good. I want to be amongst the top 1% of players again. And so I strived to set a goal to hit Master's rank. Some of you clicked on this video, you've probably already figured it out based on whatever title I decided to give it, but I've reached that goal. And when I finally got there, it felt great. And I want to tell you a couple of things that might help you work your way up towards your own similar goals, whatever they might be. So anyways, when it started off though, it started off rough, like way worse than I anticipated. Because it turns out the other thing that happens when you don't play fighting games for 10 years is you kind of lose your ability to be any good at them. So after trying out a couple of characters, I settled down and decided I was going to try to play Marisa in ranked. And I played my matches and got placed in silver. I went from silver to platinum pretty quickly because you get a lot of points in this game when you're in the lower tiers and you're winning a lot of your matches. And some of Marisa's combos are pretty stupid, so I really wanted to learn a couple and it was pretty easy. However, up in Platinum, I instantly hit a wall, and I stopped ranking up, and I started losing most of my games, and I realized I just don't really like playing Marisa that much. She's a great character, but some of the stuff like holding down her buttons to charge her moves kind of frustrated me, and at the time, I couldn't do a drive rush to save my life, so having a character who seemed really to excel by spamming drive rush at every opportunity just didn't really fit me. I'd been fiddling around a little bit with JP, and I really liked how his moves worked. I liked his normals quite a bit, but he was not the type of character that I played with, like, he's got full screen tricks, and so it was a rough transition for me to learn at first. For anybody who doesn't know, I mained Balrog or Boxer back in Street Fighter 4, who is about the least tricky character out there. He just runs at you and punches you in the face, so he doesn't really have any tricks. He had no cross-up, he had no teleports, he had no fireball, he didn't have a range attack of any kind. He doesn't even use kicks. So aside from his one overhead that was a fairly telegraphed move, if you mained Boxer, you pretty much just won by trying to use his good normals and out-footsie other players. So anyways, I went for it and decided to give JP my all. As I said, I got placed in silver again. JP is a super confusing character at first, with all of his ghosts and spiky things and portals, so it was a pretty rough learning curve. Luckily, the old skills that I had and the controller usage and things like that I'd learned in Street Fighter 4 10 years ago did seem to come back to me decently quickly, and I pushed my rank up to gold without too much trouble. Everything I'll say advice-wise from here on out should apply to anybody who's a lower rank than silver or gold, but for my own personal journey, I didn't touch any of the lower brackets, so that's where we're starting off. Anyway, back to the story. So this is where I started trying to learn one piece at a time. I would pick like a single combo and I'd go into training mode and just repeat it over and over for 5 to 6 minutes until I was consistently landing it. This helped me so much in starting to get that muscle memory down, so in-game I wouldn't panic and screw up whenever I got into a good situation. So, like for example there, the first time I tried to learn JP's wall splat combo, which is where you basically get a drive rusher any way that you get a heavy horizontal spike off, throws the opponent into the wall. You can cancel that into a ghost, into a spike, into super. The first time I did that, I was so excited I made a little GIF and sent it to all my friends. And now, ironically, I probably land that twice a match. So you'll realize how quickly you get good at that. And that was like a couple of weeks ago that I genuinely could not do that combo, and now I'm doing it that consistently and that frequently. So anyways, around gold, I basically just wanted to start improving my damage. I was still jumping all over the place randomly. I was pressing drive impact way more than I should, which was a bad habit I had to break eventually. So those were kind of the primary points that I focused on. I learned one drive cancel combo, which is to this day pretty much one of JP's best punishes, and I used that in everywhere that I possibly could. That was my drive impact combo. I did it anytime I just landed a standing heavy kick, and I also did it from like jump-ins and things like that. My recommendation for you guys is to do something similar. Pick up one scenario at a time as you're learning the game. The biggest damage combos you'll do a lot of the time is drive impacts and jump-ins and straight up landing a heavy normal. So if you're doing long range footsies, you land your heavy normal move, you want to basically have a go-to combo that just comes out like it's second nature. You don't want to be thinking about, oh, which button do I have to push next? So those are the three main scenarios where you're going to do heavy damage in Street Fighter. So I'd suggest you pick up a combo and start focusing on making sure that that is really, really comfortable to do in the situations. It doesn't have to be the character's best combo, just in case it's really, really challenging to put in, but I would go for something that does quite a bit of damage to get you started. I'd get yourself comfortable so you can do it about 5 times in a row, and then go play some ranked matches. You'll be astonished at how much more damage you're going to do. Anyways, I moved on my way up into Platinum, and unfortunately, I had to go travel for work for 2 weeks, so that really put a bit of a hamper in my progress. Luckily, when I came home, I hadn't lost too much of my razzle-dazzle, so I started the grind again and slowly inched my way up towards Diamond. In Platinum, I started to focus on learning a few small things about other characters. Ken's Dragon Lash, for example, puts him plus on block, so after he does that, don't press something, because you're probably going to lose. Honda's Headbutt is stupid. Marissa is positive on almost everything, so if she gets a drive rush off, you pretty much just hold down back and pray, you know, all that kind of stuff. Some very minor character-specific matchup knowledge started to come in. Some matchups started to get better for me, and since Kens were everywhere, I'm sure you guys have experienced that too, I got really lucky one day when I sat down at the arcade cabinets in the lobby, and I matched up against a Masters Ken player, and he ran a whole series of matches with me. Afterwards, he gave me some tips, and we talked a little bit, and he gave me some good advice about how to beat Ken, and that turned one of my worst matchups into one of my strongest matchups in under an hour. These bits of knowledge were invaluable to winning a match, and they really helped me because I found myself really frustrated when I was losing, because I was just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And sitting down with somebody who could like tell me some tips of what I could do differently or how I could defend against certain things was so helpful. So if you can find anybody, or even just join a Discord or post somewhere if you're really struggling with something, reach out and have the community give you a hand. So aside from slowly gaining some character knowledge, the biggest thing I'd focus on when I was a Platinum player is pressing my buttons with intent, and I suggest you do the same. If somebody jumps and you're busy doing a heavy attack across the screen for no reason, you're going to eat a full combo, and that's really on you if you do that. The game is frustrating when you don't understand what's going wrong, but it's easy to see on reflection that you're giving your opponent openings. So the better you react to things that they're doing, the better you're going to find you train your opponent to respect you. If they can't jump, or they need to be careful on wake up, or you're countering something that they're doing frequently, they'll stop playing their game and they'll start playing yours. This is critical to controlling the pace of the match, and not just finding yourself wedged in a corner, hoping that you somehow come out of this barrage alive. This mindset and focus really pushed me up the ranks, and I just, tried to just focus on making sure that whenever I was doing something, I knew why I was doing it. And that instantly propelled me from Platinum, where I was stuck at the time, up to Diamond. Diamond, however, is where the real gaps in my skill became apparent. In Diamond, you're going to get exposed for your weaknesses. Players that notice that you suck at defending against something will spam it for the entire match until they win. Diamond is like the try-hard region because everybody in Diamond is so close to Masters that you can taste it. So you need to improve a little bit across the entire board to really get there in Diamond, because suddenly you're going to need to shore up your defense, your offense, your combos, your consistency. It's all going to have to get there. But luckily, just by playing matches and the focus you've had before will continue to play a part in getting you up there. So for me, I got stuck in Diamond for a while because I just wasn't good enough to beat people consistently. I would go up a bit, I'd go down a bit, but I kind of got stuck, especially at certain thresholds. When you rank up and you got to play that next tier of player, it was really tough. So the main thing that I focused on in Diamond, I realized my biggest fault was defense. Defense is what makes you good at Street Fighter. It doesn't matter which character you're playing, it applies to all of them. So every match, internally, I would vocalize, just defend, stop getting hit. And I tried to really focus on punishing other players or only being aggressive when it was safe to do so, instead of just trying to press my buttons and see if I could get an opening myself. I noticed my matches started lasting a lot longer because I was properly defending, and whenever I was able to follow my mantra and didn't just screw up and immediately go overly aggressive, other players seemed to make mistakes because they didn't know how to break through my defense, so they were trying to do something risky to find a way in. Like, remember, when you're playing, you can get thrown a lot of times in a single round, so it's fine if you're just blocking your way into a defensive corner, as long as you don't get opened up for the big combos. You'd be shocked at how long you stay up and how many people will just start jumping and giving you free damage on them because they're not sure how to break through your defense. Some defense, though, is hard, right? Since characters have their mix-ups that force you to guess. So you're not always going to be able to just down black block everything in the game. But a part of your defense is that offense as well. You got to learn how to check drive rushes. One of the best things that I figured out how to do is to press meaty buttons when somebody was in drive rush range. If they're drive rushing and that's their only way to get in on you, and so many people do this, you press a meaty button, they will run into it. That gives you a full punish combo. On JP, for example, that was that heavy kick that I learned all the way back in Platinum. It's still paying off dividends if people run into it and give me a full drive cancel combo for that. That's over 30% of their health just for trying to drive rush in one time. That kind of stuff was super valuable. Obviously, stopping jump-ins is really important as well, but that defense and offense partnered with defense really started to pay off. I also never stopped doing that training thing I talked about all the way back in gold rank. I kept finding I didn't always know the good punish in every situation. When somebody was airborne in the middle of the screen, what did I do? On JP, that happens quite a bit. I really used to just hit them once, and that was it. I'd do one kick or something, and that was my damage. I probably lost quite a few matches because I was doing suboptimal options whenever I had that opening. On JP, what I learned, for example, is you can press forward heavy kick, which will juggle them in the air again, and you can cancel that into a ghost or EX ghost if you want to do even more special moves afterwards, and that gives you way more damage for connecting on that. Now I do it all the time. It's massively helpful. The other thing I tried to work on was optimizing some of my corner combos. I noticed that for me, I kept hitting them once or twice or letting them reset. Like, I would get someone stunned and I would do less than 20% of their life, and that's just not good. So those little tips and tricks really helped me kind of up my game as I was getting closer and closer to the top of Diamond. Now I've made it to Masters rank. I'm winning the majority of my games, and my rating is flying up. I'm beating people with way more points than I've got at the moment, and it looks like I worked off all that 10 years of rust, and my ability to be good is coming back pretty heavily. The journey's definitely not over, though. Once you're in Masters, the next thing to work on, I think, is optimization. You'll naturally train to stop pushing stupid buttons at stupid times, and you'll get a little bit better at all the things you've been doing, and you should still go into the lab and try to figure out if there's a better way to do what you're up to. But now the question is, when you do open up your opponent, or you do get that stun, how do you do 36% of their health instead of 32? Those small margins start to matter a lot more as you rise up into the higher ranks, and you need to watch some high tier matches and check out what they're doing and see if you can figure that out yourself or spend some time in the lab and basically start trying to optimize the combos that you're doing. Just going to your confident and comfortable bread and butter starts to become harder and harder to do against people who are really good at the game. This is your chance to really shine if you decide that you want to be at the top of the Masters ladder. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my story. Thanks for watching. I hope this condensed version of my journey was enjoyable and the tips shared can be helpful to some of you. I don't expect to be making any sort of grand return to producing a ton of YouTube videos, but I couldn't help but come back and say hi to those of you who are still here. Thanks for the support, and I really hope everybody can accomplish the goals that they've been chasing as well. You guys have an excellent day. Bye.